Welcome to the C3PO show, the first show of 2017. I'm your co-host, Corey Sullivan.
I'm
Over there we got
Austin Lersten.
my man Austin. Always good to see you. Good to hear from you. How you doing? How's your new year? I haven't talked to you for a while.
Things are going great, man. It feels like it's going to be a great year this year. 2016 is behind us, and 2017 is in front of us. So I'm excited. Hopefully, the Seahawks can put it all together, make a little magic this year. To start the year off, it's always great when your team wins the Super Bowl because it just sets up a great year for your city. So hopefully, we can see great things from the Seahawks as they head into this divisional round. How about you? How has the new year treating you so far in these first couple of days?
Oh man, it's been great. To start the year off, uh, just around good people at midnight, and then a couple hours later to beat up on the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco. I don't really think you could ask football-wise for a better start to the year. Um, I do wish that we had that first round bye, but I'm not. I don't know. I don't think that the first round bye would have done anything for us. So I'm confident in our ability to just win out. Plus, you know what those weeks are like when you don't get to watch the Hawks. It's pretty much a dead weekend. So I'm glad that we get to watch our team continue to progress throughout the playoff run, and we got that underdog tag on our back. So it wouldn't feel right if we were a favorite or we had some type of momentum heading in. So I like where we're at right now. But getting into the game, getting into Week 17, I know Week 17 didn't mean a whole lot for a whole lot of teams. Obviously, the Hawks were trying to win. Every Seahawks fan was a Saints fan on Sunday, although they didn't really pull through for us. Although they made a little late push against the Falcons, but heading into our first wild card, or let's talk about the Niners game. What did you see from the game? Is there anything that you could take away from that game? Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot to gain, and we saw Boykin play a whole lot. But what did you see from maybe some of the guys that are fill-ins heading into the postseason?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that you look into these games and you start to get really excited about, what do you like that you see, and then what are some of the things that need to be changed before the playoffs? What adjustments need to be made? The coaching staff needs to make, the player personnel that needs to be made. Is anybody stepping up who hasn't been stepping up all year, and you need to find a way to get them the ball? I think the one guy that we can all agree on that needs to get cut is our long snapper, Mr. Nate Freeze. This guy has had a tough year all year round from the preseason. I honestly don't know how he's making the squad, and it's been rough to see all year. I've heard fans on Twitter, Facebook. I mean, you talk to people in the streets. And I don't know if you could go to any other team in the nation and they know who their long snapper was the year before this year. They don't even know who this guy is. They're just saying, I just want Clint Gresham back. Can I get Clint back? Because he's just so valuable to this team for so long. He never made any mistakes. He never, snapped the ball high. So that was the one thing that I'm still, kind of concerned, because those things can bite you late in the games. We saw, like with Christine Michael in the beginning of the year with the Rams, where he just choked away the game, even though we got a great drive going on. If you have those guys who are just susceptible to turn the ball over or not make big plays when you need them to make those big plays, you just don't want any liabilities like that. So that's my one thing that I really took away from this weekend is please just get us a competent long snapper. Pete, please. That's all I'm asking for. How about you? What did you see out there?
I saw. Like I said, there's not a whole lot I felt like we could have gained from that game. It wasn't a game that meant a whole lot on the 49ers side. I know whenever there's those divisional games, I'm not really believing in the whole scrum thing, how there's always like a fight or something before and during the game. Maybe there's some bad blood in there, but it's just, I feel like they're just too not few and far between for it to be a real thing, So I'm sure towards the end of the game, all that, none of that was staged. I'm sure 49ers, the frustration of their season was just boiling over, and I'm sure the Seahawks, they like to talk, so it was they had just heard enough, and you hate losing the big brother, so it was rough for 49er Nation and for the players on the field, and the boil over between Jaron Reed and Frank Clark was, I don't know what it was, to be honest with you. It was a miscue for Reed, and but on the other hand, I will say the defense played great. For the one thing that if I'm going to pinpoint something that I was overly impressed with, it was their ability to shut down the run. It's something that the Seahawks have done for quite some time now, and allowing Sean Drone, who's not a starter in the NFL, to less than 2 yards per carry was huge. I know he got into the end zone. It's all right. Like I said, it wasn't a huge game. Not like we were missing a whole lot from that, but 21 carries, 41 yards for the game. I'll take that any day, especially heading into the postseason where you're going to see only superstars or make the playoffs. That's just part of the game. So to be able to shut down a run game like that, we're heading in. Not heading into Dallas, but heading to face Dallas at home back in Seattle, where we're pretty much invincible. I don't know. We always have that late season loss for some reason to the Rams or Cardinals or one of those divisional opponents. But don't let that fool you. Seattle is still Seattle when they're at home, especially in playoff time, in crunch time, when we're on primetime television. It's when we show the world that we're here to stay. And Earl came out earlier and said that if he was playing, we would have that first round bye. And I mean, yeah, obviously if we had Earl back there, games would be going a lot differently. And our second round, obviously not overlooking the Lions, but they don't even have a running game, so you're not going to pass all day on this Seahawks team, whether Earl plays or not. Still have Cam, still have Richard Sherman, the best cornerback in the game, maybe the best the game has ever seen, just cornerback wise, not athletically. Obviously nobody's prime time, but Sherman, hard to argue that he's not the best in the game. Obviously some other guys coming up, but I'm facing off against the Lions, and then potentially, obviously I believe that we'll win this game. So heading down to Atlanta and facing off against a team we've already beaten, a team that has an awful defense. Both these teams' defense is not superb. And then probably heading into Dallas after that to face off against their team, whose defense isn't that great. And looking at the playoff picture in general, I'm excited to face these teams, because the one thing that's held our team back this year has been the play of our offense. And with no real killer defenses, we're not facing off against the Eagles or the Ravens or anything like that on the road to the Super Bowl. And even if we do make it, or when we do make it to the Super Bowl, it'll be probably the Patriots or one of those teams who also don't have an overly impressive defense. So I'm liking what our odds are, but I would like to see Thomas Rawls go off against one of these mediocre teams' defenses, because he just hasn't got it going. Even last week, Thomas Rawls, just an all right game. I think he had maybe one touchdown, not many yards. And then Alex Collins, he looked good, but I would never say that I would start Alex Collins over Thomas Rawls or Procise. But definitely something I want to see going forward is how Rawls responds to the whole playoff atmosphere. I don't know if how you feel about it, but I just feel that Seahawks kind of eased into the playoffs. We got a bunch of injuries at the end of the year. Earl, Lockett, very key players on our team. So I think Pete was just trying to rest up, and Russ is always trying to go full speed no matter what it is. So I don't think that he let off the gas at all. It was funny watching him on the sideline. He still had his helmet on, trying to get into the lobby to get into the game there at the end. But I'm glad that Pete kept him out, kept a lot of the starters out. But one thing I will say is I would like to see Thomas Rawls step up and, be that top back that we need him to be week after week.
Yeah, I mean, going into that, I was kind of looking back on that. I don't know if that was the best decision by Pete to start those guys or to take the starters out, and put in Trevon Boykin. We saw in that first series it was really rough. Very easily could have lost that game. And the Saints came back and made it an interesting game against the Falcons. And if they would have gotten their onside kick, had a chance to win that game. So looking back on hindsight, I would say that Russ probably should have stayed in the game. We probably should have kept the starters going, because if we would have lost and then the Saints would have ended up winning, that could have cost us that first round bye. But it all worked out. We're in the 3 seed now. Like you said, the Lions, they have a terrible running game. And we already know what our run defense is all about. So the running game isn't going to be able to go anywhere. They have some good pieces. They have some good receivers. They don't have anything that's going to, they don't have Calvin Johnson anymore. They don't have anybody that's really going to intimidate you, especially as a weapon on offense. I guess Matthew Stafford is kind of all they got. They got, our guy Golden and Marvin Jones. Those are kind of their two big guys, and those guys, they're not 1A players. They're not the class of the league. And nobody really in their defense isn't a daunting defense either. It's a good defense, but I think that Rawls is, like you said, this is Rawls' chance to really show what he's about. Procise may be available for this game as well, so hopefully we can get Procise some more action and he can bust off a couple of long plays for us. I know once he really gets going, he really gets that energy into the team. That's what our offense is all about. It's just about big plays, making big plays. So if we could have Procise back there and get a couple of big plays, I think that could be the big difference in the game. I just don't see the Lions really having too much of a shot. And when we get to the end of the season, you see this quite often. A lot of the teams, I mean, it's the NFL. At any point, another team can beat another team. None of these teams are scrubs. These are the best of the best of the best. And so you just never know what could happen. The any given Sunday thing. That's kind of the phrase. But they've looked not how you really want them to look going in, but they also haven't looked terrible. The offense has looked really good in certain quarters. The defense has been able to shut teams down when you've wanted them to shut teams down. They had a tough game against the Cardinals, but that's an individual rival who knows us more than anybody else. And I think, we kind of scooted our way into the playoffs because we were in a terrible division. We had, the Rams got rid of their coach. The 49ers didn't get rid of Chip Kelly the other day. And Arians hasn't looked too great at the Cardinals either, and he's been having health issues. So I think that by what's gone on in the last couple of weeks, you can see that our division hasn't been that good either from top to bottom. So that's kind of why we got in. But once we're in, just give us a shot. That's all we ask. And just watch what the Hawks do. They just find ways to win games. We've seen it year after year, game after game. And sometimes they play like crap against the awful teams. And when the lights are on, they work the great teams. So I think it could be one of those days with the Lions where, something like a 14 to 20 point win, going away with it pretty easily with the defense dominating all night long.
Oh, yeah, I could definitely see that. This is a team that at home is night and day. And I just don't see – I can't imagine any scenario where the Lions just come in and beat us at home. They just don't have that other dimension that you need to beat the Seahawks. They don't have a prolific tight end. Eric Ebron is decent. He's a maybe borderline Pro Bowler, but not all pro. Not going to get, 8 to 9 catches, 100-plus yards, and really open up the middle of the field for them. Their run game is non-existent. I had high hopes for Dwayne Washington to really come in and fill that void that Amir Abdullah left upon his injury early on in the season, but they haven't been able to really do anything. Theo Riddick has been serviceable, but, they really don't have anything back there that's scary. Theo Riddick's not going to scare anybody week after week, 100 yards, and just really tiring the defense out and running them over late in the fourth quarter. That's not his game. And you touched on it. Golden Tate, Anquan Bolden still a force. It would be nice to have a veteran guy like Anquan Bolden who can run the pick play. I know we have a receiver that just can't seem to get it correct. I don't know what it is about him. Just every time we run it, it's pass interference. But Anquan Bolden ran it to perfection this last week, but unfortunately they came up short. Anyway, just want to get into, now that we're talking about the playoffs, I want to see what road you want to take to get to the Super Bowl. Personally, I wanted the Packers. I wanted the Packers because they beat us. And I want everyone that had a piece of us or beat us recently, and the Packers were one. I wanted to face the Packers at home because – I just wanted a little bit of revenge. And then I would like to face the Cowboys. It would have been nice to face the Cowboys in the next round, but it's only right to save that game for the NFC Championship. So, because it's really going to be the Super Bowl. Whoever wins that game is probably going to win the Super Bowl. So, But back to it. We're going to face off against the Falcons, which is all right. But we've already beat them, so I didn't really want to face them again. And I would have liked to see the Patriots. Obviously, definitely want to see the Patriots in the Super Bowl. To be honest, when we make it to the Super Bowl, I'll be disappointed if anybody other than the Patriots makes it out of the AFC. I really can't see the Raiders or the Texans in there. Steelers probably not. Maybe. They have
Texans or Raiders don't have quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's Raider. 2 weeks ago, Raider Nation was on top of the world, and right now they are back to being the Raiders.
I don't know if you remember that show that was on ESPN. It was called "Welcome to the NFL Rookie." That's where I feel like the Raiders are at right now. They're finally good again, and so it's like they're rookies again, right? They're just they're back into the swing of things. And just when you thought everything could go well, the NFL takes it all from you.
But I will. I'm interested in seeing a Giants Seahawks matchup. That's the Giants are a team that have been, I wouldn't exactly say silently been being good, but if you're more of a casual fan, you're probably not really reading much into the Giants. But they're a good team. That offense is pretty good, and it really just depends on what Eli you get. The defense is a top tier defense, pretty good, not overly bearing, not as you said, daunting, but a good defense that can have some nice stops. You're not gonna have your way with this defense, and if the offense is clicking, you're probably not gonna beat the Giants, even if they don't have a run game. And if they do have a run game, you're gonna lose, and it doesn't matter what you do. But Seahawks, they stop the run, and it's really going to be dependent on how Paul Richardson does. I'm really, really, I tell you every single week that I'm so excited to see what Paul Richardson's going to do, because if you think about it, back when we had Marshawn, we were a run-first team. We've always been a run-first team, and then that's not a knock on Russ. Russ, obviously a great quarterback, 10 wins every single year he's been in the league. But Richardson is back in that role that Lockett was filling before he got hurt. He played decent last game. I don't think that Pete really unleashed the offense or a bunch of plays. There wasn't very many great plays. I will say that Jermaine Kearse and Russ had a nice long connection, 36-yard grab, beautiful pass. Also a very nice catch by Jermaine, when he caught 2 of his 7 targets. But it was I don't think that we really unlocked Richardson just yet, and he's been playing good. So I'm excited to see, heading into the playoffs, I'm most excited to see what P. Rich is going to do as we progress throughout the rest of the postseason.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw from P. Rich in terms of that back shoulder throw. I think him and Russ have connected a few times on that now, and every time they just look so good when they do it. Because the thing about it, Russ or P. Rich is going to try and burn you deep. He's going to try and just outrun you. And so when he gets you on those stop routes, 10, 15 yards down the field, it should be open for him a lot of the time because guys aren't expecting him to run those. And he stops on a dime really well, and he adjusts to the ball and makes, good adjustments when he needs to. So I'm really excited for P. Rich to really show what he can do. Tanner McAvoy, Kason Williams, this is the time of the year that these guys step up, whereas those guys that no one else in the league has heard about, but you've kind of been watching them throughout the year, and they've been doing their thing, and they find a way to make big plays. So I think one of those guys are definitely we're gonna need them to have a big playoff year, and I think one of them will step up along with Doug. And there's this guy on the team, I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Jimmy Graham, and he's pretty good when you get him the ball. And so I'm just hoping Darrell Bevell learns his name or what plane he flies or where he went to college. I just wanted to take some type of history lesson in Jimmy Graham. He's a great player. And so this is the time of the year that we need him. This is the time of the year I want him getting 15 targets. those 7 targets that you speak of that we gave to Jermaine Kearse in the last game for 45 yards, I would prefer all of those 7 to just go directly into Jimmy Graham's pocket. It's almost just like just stealing his money. That's what I want Jimmy Graham to do to Jermaine's targets. It's just I don't get it. You'll watch throughout the game. You'll continue watching, and you'll be like, Jermaine Kearse is covered every single time. Even when he makes plays, he's covered. And yet we continue to just try and force feed the guy the ball. If he can't get open, he can't get open. I know he blocked me on Twitter, so he's a little bit bitter, but I have no harsh feelings against you, Jermaine. If you get open during the game, please throw the guy. Well, no, because he doesn't catch it either. But if you do get open, hopefully somebody else gets open, and then we can throw them the ball too. Because if he does get open, he doesn't catch, and then he rarely is open. So I don't know why we're even throwing at him. It just gets tiring after game after game. It's almost like Jermaine Kearse is becoming like Darrell Bevel's bubble screens, where you'll just watch and you're like, I know that's not going to work. I've seen this for the last 3 years, and it has not worked in any of the games. So let's try something else. Go up to the drawing board, rewrite it out, and find a way. But I like that. It's kind of been the frustrating part of this whole year. I just like all of our receivers except for Kearse. But that's the one guy we want to target every single game. He at least has to get 5 targets, and he can get 0, and then maybe we can give Jimmy like 15 and see how that works out for us.
Yeah, it was one of those. And, to top it all off, the one really nice catch and throw that they had, it was pretty much everybody was open on the play. And it was a great throw by Russ, but it was also a very nice catch. Don't want to take anything away from Jermaine. It was a perfect placed ball. It was a nice catch. And, but if you look outside of that, he had 1 catch for 9 yards the rest of the game. So we just can't have that from a guy that we depend so much on. And unfortunately, we do depend a lot on him. We don't really have the depth to throw in a P. Rich or Lockett isn't healthy. So we just have to hope that he gets open. And unfortunately, he doesn't get open. And, Doug tries his best. And Russ he's kind of been – I would say his accuracy hasn't been superb as of lately. He's missed on a couple of deep balls, especially to Doug. One I remember is up the seam on the sideline. Yep. Doug had him, and Doug beat the corner, and it would have gone for a touchdown and just overthrew him. And it's happened at least once a week the last couple of weeks, and it's just unfortunate. Hopefully we start hitting on that. I know that Russ has it in him. I know that their timing is always down. The same receivers that we put out there for, the last 3-4 years. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. But I'd have confidence and faith in them. They always it's not like it's a regular thing. It's just, once or twice a game, it's like, oh, we could have had that one too. But, they connected, like I said, they connected on a long one with Kearse, a 36-yarder. And that's it's not really in his game. Not that he doesn't make big plays. He makes clutch catches. I guess Kearse is kind of known for making big catches from Seahawks history, but like you touched on earlier, we always have those guys, those Chris Matthews and guys that just step up. And the playoffs aren't that long, so you just need one game. You just need a new player to step up one game each and every game. And I think McAvoy is getting there. His confidence is high right now. He's not putting up crazy stats, but every time he's targeted, he's connecting on it, and that's a credit to Bevel and a credit to Carroll and a credit to Russ and McAvoy, that they have that confidence that we're not going to target you a whole lot throughout the game, but when we do, we know that we're going to complete that pass. And so that's I think that's something that I like about the offense, but also something I don't like about the offense is that plays are so scripted that there's not much room for freestyling, if you will. It's, if a play breaks down or doesn't work, it's, if Russ isn't able to shake somebody and run for 3 or 4 yards, it's bad news bears. Probably getting sacked, probably getting hit a whole lot. Something that Russ did 2 weeks ago was just getting drilled behind the line, and something that we can't afford, especially now in the season. We can't afford any of those games where the line just breaks down. And so hopefully Bevel can not run the ball after every single big play that we have. I would like to gain more than 1 or negative 2 yards after, a 40-yard gain. And hopefully heading into the postseason, Bevel can figure it out. I'm not a big Bevel fan. I'm sure not a lot of people are. I was all for Richard Sherman speaking his mind and saying what the fans couldn't. But yeah, you know, you got to use Jimmy Graham. Like you said, I don't know if anybody else has heard of this guy. It's pretty good, pretty big out there. Great at catching the ball. Pretty fast. He's strong. Can catch one-handed, two-handed. Doesn't talk a whole lot. Used to dunk on the goalpost. He's pretty famous. He used to be a Pro Bowler a lot of times. He's one of the best tight ends in the league. He wears number 88. Not a very good blocker, so probably don't leave him in to block a whole lot. You should probably just send him out on. He can play in the slot. If you watch the Saints back when they were good, they had this guy named Jimmy Graham, same guy, I think, and they'd line him up absolutely anywhere, and they would always get in the rock because he always came down with it. He's just bigger, stronger, faster. That's kind of Jimmy's thing, you know. That's why he was worth the first-round price tag, because he can do anything. So if anybody that knows football is listening to this, please help Jimmy get the ball. And that's really what I'm looking forward to this postseason is Jimmy, especially in the middle of the season when we were winning all those games and we were throwing to that guy. That's a tight end. It was great. Things are going great. Defense was playing great. And the offense was moving the ball. I mean, I was sad that nobody else was touching the ball. It was only Russell and Jimmy, but we were winning games, and that's what we have to do now. So we should get back to that.
Yeah, I think I like that. We went from him being a Pro Bowler to now he's a Pro Blocker. So that I don't know why we decided to make that decision, but that's the decision we decided to make. And so hopefully now we can kind of return back to what he's normally known for, which is being a Pro Bowler, not a Pro Blocker. And yeah, I mean the whole tight end game. I think even and we'll get into this a little bit later, but UW had the same issue this past weekend, where it's just you can see there's routes open over the middle. Just attack it. You saw Luke had a touchdown this weekend, so that was good to see Luke get his thing done. And Luke is a great tight end too. So I just don't get why we don't attack the middle of the field more often. Just throw it up, let your guys make a play because they always seem to make a play. Not often are you going to see Jimmy Graham. It's either Jimmy Graham's coming down with the ball or nobody's coming down with the ball. It's not going to be a tip deflection off the helmet into the defender's hands, off his foot, and then he gets a touchdown. That's not going to happen. It's either he's catching it or nobody's catching it. And so I just wish we would utilize him more in that area. Just find a way to get him open in the middle of the field. And then that's going to open up P. Rich to get those streak routes because they're going to have to start coming over to the middle. You start getting guys open on the side. I mean, it's just basic math, just kind of figuring out where guys they're going to have to stop the main target. And in terms of, I know earlier we were talking about the road. What road do I want to see? Yeah, so of course we got to play the Lions, and then after we play the Lions, we got to play Atlanta, and that's why I'd love to see Green Bay in that championship game. I think it actually aligns pretty nicely. I don't care about the Lions; we have no real bad history with them. I guess you could say we have bad history in the sense that that's where Super Bowl 40 took place, was in Detroit. If you want to make that stretch, but Atlanta did take Russ's first year and ended it after that team was on fire. And Russ gave the team the chance to win the game, and the defense gave up that game. So that was disappointing. But I think this is a great chance if we can beat the Lions to then go over into Atlanta and give them a loss at their last chance to get a win in Atlanta, as that will be the last game at the Georgia Dome. And then I'd love to see Green Bay just for another NFC championship. I think Green Bay hates us, and I love teams that hate us. It makes the winning so much sweeter. I don't think we really hate Green Bay as much as they hate us for some reason, but I revel in their hate. So keep the hate pouring in, Pack fans. Get the cheese graters out, and we'll see you at CenturyLink in a couple of weeks. And then after that, I wouldn't mind seeing the Steelers once again for Super Bowl 40, or we can go back to Super Bowl 49 and we get the Pats. I'll take either one of them just to get a little revenge for either one of those Super Bowls. But like you said, I do think that the Super Bowl is going to come from the NFC. I just think the NFC is just top to bottom, just so much better. The Houston Texans are in the playoffs. Brock Osweiler is their quarterback. I don't know if you've watched Brock Osweiler this year or not, but he has definitely not deserved to get paid Russell Wilson money, which is what he's getting paid right now. So, yeah, they're terrible. The Oakland Raiders are now awful. Pittsburgh they've looked mediocre all year round. And the Patriots have looked good at times, but nothing on that team really scares you. Like when we played them in Super Bowl 49, they had a great defense and they had Tom Brady doing his thing. And so it was like, where are you going to figure out? Well, now their defense is they got rid of both their best players and Jamie Collins and Chandler Jones. And what do they have now? They
and Revis and Browner both aren't there now as well.
Who?
Darrelle Revis and Browner aren't there either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They just don't have a vaunted defense. There's nothing for you to get scared about when you watch that defense. And then Tom Brady can do his thing, but they don't have a lot of weapons. I guess they got Michael Floyd now, but I don't see him having a great playoffs. So I don't know. I think that the whoever wins the NFC will win the Super Bowl, and I think that the Seahawks have the best chance to win.
Yeah, I'm agree. Obviously, hometown bias or not, I'm going to agree. But I don't know. I can't see the Cowboys losing. They struggled in all of their big games, and like you said, kind of like when Russ went up against Russ and the Seahawks. It wasn't just Russ. Went up against the Falcons. They weren't really ready for the playoff games. Although they were playing great football, the playoffs it's a different ball game. And I don't think the Cowboys are there yet. Obviously not. Dak is a very good quarterback. Ezekiel led the league in rushing. Maybe will win MVP, but they just haven't been in a playoff environment yet. And yeah, I know Ezekiel was national championship in college football, but college football, the game between college football and the NFL is so vast. And it's the reason that a lot of college players, when they come to the NFL, they're not ready, or they just fall off the map and don't exist. There's, you go up and down, even Heisman caliber players that are nobodies in the NFL. Not even, look recently, Johnny Manziel is not even in the league right now. He's the absolute best player in college football, arguably 2 years, 3 years in a row. So it's a different game, and they struggled both times against the Giants. So they're two huge games for the Cowboys. They haven't really beat up on anybody major. They've had some good wins. Don't get me wrong. They've beat some good teams, but playoff environment is just a way different environment. Luckily, it's at home, or their whole NFC trip will be at home. But it's something that when they're going up against these teams like the Seahawks, like the Packers, teams that have much more playoff experience, a much better quarterback than Dak Prescott is right now, it's going to be tough. It's going to be, a different game. And, it'll be interesting to see how that team responds when Ezekiel gets shut down, or when Dak, is turning the ball over, and see how they handle adversity in a playoff atmosphere, because like I said, it is an absolutely different game between the playoffs and the regular season. Absolutely.
And as we move on, we want to talk about this national championship semifinal game between the University of Washington Huskies and the Alabama Roll Tide. What did you think coming out from this game?
Man, I want to apologize to you, because I believe I told you a couple times in this show that UW had absolutely no chance. And I know a couple guys on the team, and unfortunately, they're really good players, but it's just a different game. It's something that Alabama prepares for. UW, they had all the confidence, and they thought that they were ready. They really did. I'm fully convinced that, watching these guys on Snapchat and on Instagram and all that, and they were feeling the hate from the world, and everyone is UW against the world and all that. I felt bad for them in a sense that they really believed that they could beat Alabama, but when they finally got out on the field and felt those hits and really went up against that team, this is not a Pac-12 team. This is what the SEC does, and not only the SEC. This is what the leader of the SEC does. This is what Alabama does. It's like, 5 championships now in 8 years. I mean, the whole pitch of going to Alabama for a 5-star recruit is you're going to get on national TV. You're going to be ranked #1. You're going to get everyone's best. Even UW, absolutely. I think they gave their absolute best, and it's just a better team, top to bottom. And I told you, there's a difference between a really good defense and the #1 defense. And Jake Browning and even John Ross, all those guys. John Ross, I think he had 28 yards. He's one of the best receivers in the entire nation. He really saw what Minka Fitzpatrick and that defense was all about. And I really think that UW is better than any of these other teams. They would have given – I think they could have beaten Ohio State, who I don't think belonged in there in the first place, but they beat Michigan fair and square. And Clemson is a good team. I think that would have been a closer game with UW versus Clemson, but unfortunately they got Alabama first in their first draw, and I don't think anybody's hanging with Alabama. So unfortunately, Jake Browning wasn't ready for this game. Myles Gaskin, there's no way he was ever going to get going against this defense. No disrespect to him. He's a very good, shifty running back, but he just doesn't have the punch that someone requires to really do anything against this Alabama defense. And just young guys on the offensive line for UW, just jumping off sides at the wrong time and not being able to hold back those pass rushes. It was a rough day for Browning, and it was tough to see those guys. They just looked defeated after that pick 6 before the half. It was a good game. UW striking first, and Alabama answering back, and it was a close game and everything until that pick 6 that really deflated them, and that's when Bama just went for the throat. And that's they knew how to win a game of that caliber, and it's kind of, I don't want to get back to going back to the NFL, but that's kind of how I see Dallas in the NFL playoffs. Is they're a really good team, arguably the best team in the NFC right now, but getting into that level, they're not used to this level of play, and this is what Alabama does. So that's what I saw from Alabama. They were just more ready, bigger, stronger, faster, and just watching Bo Scarborough dominate the defense of the Huskies, especially late in the game, how his runs were just demoralizing. He would just run through people. It was something. It reminded me of Marshawn without being Marshawn. You know what I mean? It was just punching you in the face when they just couldn't take it anymore, and it was over.
Yeah, I agree. I think that offense just struggled all the way around. I think it started up front, and the offensive linemen even if they were good, even if they were skilled and they were in the right positions and they were fighting and giving it all they had, they were just literally getting pushed down. And I think you knew it was going to be a long day when the commentator even mentioned it and said that the right guard is a true freshman. And you looked at the guy across from him, and he's about twice his size. And he doesn't even make an athletic move. He doesn't make any type of skilled defensive lineman move on him. He literally just takes him and throws him to the ground and attacks Jake Browning. And I think every UW fan in the nation was probably watching that and going, "Oh no, what are we in for today?" And so we saw that all game. It was just they weren't even really just outskilling him. They were just pushing him around. They were just the bully on the field. They just bullied him around all day long. And I think you saw that kind of the same in the backfield too. I don't think those receivers were getting tired of getting pressed all game long and having to fight off pressure from the beginning, every single play. And I think that they just got tired and worn down. Like you said, we're not used to seeing cornerbacks who are going to get up in your face and just push you around all game and throw people around. That's just not how the Pac-12 plays. They play off you. They don't allow you to make the big play. They try and, cover deep routes, more zone, stuff like that. But Alabama just says, kind of like the Seahawks, our guy is better than your guy, and we're going to go one-on-one, and we're going to find out. And I was disappointed in John Ross. I really was. You need to find a way to get this guy the ball. He's, like you said, arguably one of the #1 wide receivers in the nation. He's explosive. He makes big plays, and he finds a way to help your team win. And you just have to try and find a way to force feed him the ball. I wish, especially later in the game, as they realized the running game wasn't going to work. It was not going more than 2 or 3 yards at any point. There was no chance of it ever happening. I know that they were hoping for it, but I don't get the idea to bang your head against the wall. You might as well try something new. And it's not like going deep or testing the defense deep isn't something they haven't been doing all season long. It's kind of what they're known for. It's, Jake Browning making that nice 40-yard pass. Kind of that Dante Pettis was just classic UW football from the whole year. And after that, you didn't see many passes that were 20, 30 yards down the field. And I think that was a big mistake by the UW coaching staff. And I don't know if it would have made a difference in the outcome. Probably not. But you just want to give your players a chance to win the game. You have to give them a chance. And I don't think that the coaching staff did what they needed to do in order to give them that chance. But you got to give your hat off to Alabama. They're a dynasty. That's all there is to it. We'll look back on this era as the Nick Saban Alabama era. And they've been in so many classics already, even if they've lost, like the Auburn game where the guy returned the ball off the field goal. Probably one of my favorite top 5, top 10 games ever, just from beginning to end, just so dramatic. And they're in a lot of games like that. Even last year's national championship against Deshaun Watson and Clemson, just a great classic title game. And so it's good to see that again. It's going to be. I think that this year we kind of learned that there was 2 of the best teams in the nation, and then probably the next 6 to 8 teams are all kind of about the same. They could all maybe beat each other, but I don't think anybody could have beaten those top 2 teams this year. I don't think Michigan would have beat Clemson. I don't think UW would have beat Clemson. And I don't think anybody really would have beaten Alabama. And I think Clemson will give it their best, but Alabama's going to be tough, man. They just run you over. That's all there is to it. They're men amongst boys. And that's all there is to it. And when it's like that, it's like asking us to go play against a bunch of 10-year-olds and see how we do. You're just going to throw people to the ground. That's just how it goes. You're just stronger than they are, and you're bigger than they are, and there's nothing they can do about it. So it'll be a fun title game, but I think everything in terms of, people were talking about, should Penn State have made it? Why didn't this team get in? Why didn't this team get in? I really don't think it mattered really who was in that 3 or 4 slot. 1 and 2, we learned over the weekend, were 1 and 2 for the right reasons, and the playoff committee got it right.
Yeah, it's kind of I thought you were heading towards the tier thing. It's Clemson and Alabama are the top tier, and then everyone else is that second or third tier. So, kind of like you said, whoever played Alabama, it wouldn't have been any different. To be honest, I thought even with the score the way it was, I thought UW's defense also played great. They did a great job of shutting down Jalen Hurts for the majority of the game. His runs weren't overly effective. In the long run, I think a lot of guys, especially the linebackers, were tired of getting hit and delivering hits. There's just comes to a point where there's only so much times you could hit a quarterback or hit a running back that eventually it's going to wear you down. And then at the end of the game, I think that long run by Bo was kind of the icing on the cake. That was UW conceding defeat, and one of those, I'm tired. We made it here. And it was more they were happy to be there. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, kind of like Houston, the Texans or something, that they're just happy to be in the playoffs. I think that, they really thought that they could win. They really prepared like champions, like they could be national champions. And, kind of like we've been talking about Alabama, this is what they do. This is their time to shine. And every single year they get the top recruits. They get the top running backs. They have a great history of running backs, Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram, and both Scarborough had a decent year. I don't want to say great year, but they generally put out some of the best, most powerful, not only running backs but also offensive linemen. You look at the Seahawks. Our D tackle came from Alabama, and he's a beast. And that's kind of when you go to Alabama, that's kind of what you expect. You look in the NFL, and there's Alabama products all over the field. The Rams got Mark Barron, who was one of the top safeties in the league. Fitzpatrick is going to come out of Alabama and be a great player somewhere. Dre Kirkpatrick, you texted me and said Kirkpatrick, and I know that's not what you meant. Obviously, autocorrect got you wrong, but Kirkpatrick, another great cornerback in the league, also a product of Alabama. Janoris Jenkins, Southern Alabama. He didn't go to Alabama. It's just the heart of football is in Alabama, and it's going to be. I love Deshaun Watson. I think that he gets disrespected by all the draft gurus or whatever you want to call him, saying that he's not a first-round pick. But I think if you pass up on Deshaun Watson in the NFL draft, you're going to be mightily disappointed in not taking him. You might save some money for the team that does pick him if you don't pick him in the first round, but to say that he's not a first-round top 5 talent is ridiculous. I don't know much about Deshaun Kaiser, but I don't know when winning games lost value. Back-to-back championships, one loss along the way. I mean, besides the championship game, I don't know how that doesn't hold any value. And statistically, yeah, he's not going to throw for 5,000 yards, but only Drew Brees does that. Winning games is what's most important, but some teams want a Jared Goff who gets some fantasy stats. I don't know what it is about that aspect of it, but I'm in the game to win games, and so I'm taking Deshaun Watson number one if I have that pick. But the Browns do what they want, so I don't know what they'll do. But yeah, I'm a Deshaun Watson fan. And speaking of additions and off season, I know that we're not even close to being at the off season yet. We have so much more football left, whether it be college or NFL. But I want to go back, talk about the Seahawks. We have some holes potentially. I don't know how you feel about it. Is there anything that you see from the team as of right now, just based on regular season, not heading into the playoffs, what we need, and injuries that are stacked up, just basically based off of personnel and guys that are going to be either leaving or re-signing? Who do you think that we need to pick up this offseason?
I think that the offensive line just cut everybody except for 2 guys. Fetty and Britt. That's all. Everybody else can get the step and find another team. Nobody's any good. Obviously the George Fant project is becoming one of the worst experiences as a Seahawks football fan, and just as a fan to watch any game. It's going into a season. I can't imagine being a general manager of any team and saying, yeah, we just found this guy on the street. He hasn't played football since he was in Pee Wee, and he's going to be our starting left tackle. It's just not really a spot where you just pick up a guy off the street, and so he can go find somewhere else to play. I don't know, maybe play basketball, D League, Europe League. I don't care. Something just not with the Seahawks. And Glowinski. Oh God, this guy is terrible. He had a year to be benched, to figure it out, learn from other guys. I don't know who he's going to learn from because everybody else sucks too, but learn from anybody. I don't know, watch YouTube videos, something. And he didn't do it. He hasn't done anything. And then the one guy who I was a huge fan of was Gilliam. I thought he was a skilled guy. He kind of had that swagger. He just kind of punch people in the face a little bit now and then. He wasn't really known for that, but he kind of had just a little bit to him, a little bit of an edge. And then he was really skilled. He looked like he really knew what he was doing. He had nice fluidity out there, but he's been terrible all year long too. So pack your bags and go to Jacksonville. I don't like anything I'm seeing, but I think he's our first round draft pick. So you got to hope that this guy just finds a way to do anything. And I think that we need to kick him back out to right tackle, because I don't know if you've seen his stance, but that is the widest stance for a guard that I have ever seen in my life. This guy, he's taking dumps out on the field. That's literally what he looks like he's doing, both figuratively and literally. And so I hope that he looks like he needs to be on the outside. His stance is wide, so it looks like he can kind of get that kick from the right tackle. So I hope we bump him out there. And then I hope we go out and we find a left tackle in free agency, and then fill in those guard spots however we can, whether that's free agency or the draft pick or whatever it may be. So let's just start with the offensive line. I like what I see on our defensive line. I think Jaron Reed is great. I think Ataba Rubin has had another great year. And Frank Clark has only gotten better and better year after year. We're going to keep Averill and we're going to keep Bennett. So that's looking great. I think our defensive line looks great. We may be able to pick up some depth in free agency or the draft, whichever way they want to go. Maybe just one more guy. Our linebackers, we need an outside linebacker. I don't think Mike Morgan is next year's fix for the outside linebacker. So hopefully we can find another guy out there. And then last but not least on the defensive end, we have to get rid of, and I hate to say it because I was one of his biggest fans, but Lane. Jeremy Lane has been Jermaine Curse bad. So Jeremy Lane can go to the Jacksonville Jaguars as well, go collect his paycheck, make his money in the league, and then retire, and I hope he has a great life. But being a Seattle Seahawk, I don't think is in his future anymore. He just hasn't looked good. He's looked terrible, to be honest with you. And he was supposed to be the number 2. He's getting paid number 2 money. And then we were like, well, then we're going to switch him into 3 since we play nickel so much. So if he's going to be getting paid number 2 money, and then he's going to switch over into number 3, I expect him to be the best number 3 corner in the league, and I don't even expect anybody to be close. And he has been probably one of the worst third cornerbacks. So that's what I see from our defensive side of the ball. I think, of course, we keep Cam. Of course, we keep Earl, and we keep rolling with our mainstay guys. But in terms of everyone else, that's kind of where I see the ball rolling. How about on the offensive side? What do you see over there?
To be honest with you, it really would be nice to get a true 1B. I don't want to disrespect Doug and say he's not a 1A because I think Doug is an elite receiver in this game. But we need one of those 1Bs that's a burner, or a tall red zone threat. Vincent Jackson, but just not at this point of his career. But somebody that's, like a Larry Fitzgerald would be perfect. But I think Fitz think he's done, unfortunately. And on top of that, I think he's the type of guy that would never leave Arizona. He'd either play another year or 2 or just retire. I don't think he would ever play anywhere else. And he had a great year. But that's neither here nor there. But, offensively, we have to get a line. This makeshift stuff that Tom Cable seems to be doing for this team, although he is quite the magician, it's we can't have Jimmy Graham blocking and wasting his talents. We're paying $10 million a year for a Pro Bowl receiver, one of the best tight ends in the game that stays in and blocks for a run game that doesn't really get off the ground, and it's not worth it. And our run game, it has to get going because it's part of our team. Like I said, it's not Russ's fault. It's not Jermaine's fault. It's not Bevel's fault, kind of. But we have to get the run game going to get the passing game going, and that's just how our team. That's how our team just works like that. It's not. I don't think it's any particular play call or anything like that. Just talent-wise, we're just not there yet on offense. And like you said, not a big fan. Effetti, he's a rookie, so you just got to kind of go with the bumps and bruises that goes with. Fortunately, we haven't really had too many injury issues with him. Knock on wood for sure. Something we went through with Okung his first couple years. Remember, he had those ankle injuries, and it's like, we spent a first-round pick on this guy, but again, he's not playing. And when he plays, he's going to be good, but he's good for 10 games a year. And so, luckily, early on in Effetti's career, he's been relatively healthy, and so he's getting those bumps and bruises while we're still winning, and he's gaining experience. So I think that's something positive. Britt finally found a position that he's decent at, so I'm A-okay with him staying around. But yeah, left tackle, right tackle, Gilliam, very disappointed in him. We need something. I don't know if Luke Jokel will be leaving Jacksonville. I'm sure they'll franchise tag him or something. That's, a young offensive tackle like that. You just have to bite the bullet and keep him. the whole NFL is seeing how the Cowboys are doing with that offensive line, and eventually they'll all have to be paid someday, and that's when things will start breaking up. But a great offensive line is literally something that you can't buy, and we have to do something to get an elite talent. I still have no regrets for not re-signing Okung. I don't think that he would have made this line any better than it is. I think it is what it is. And Tom Cable is doing a great job of trying his best to work with the talent that Pete and John continue to throw at him. They threw a basketball player at him and said, protect Russ with no movement in his legs, really. He just has to throw from back there. And for the most part, through Russ's injury, they kept him upright. As much as you'd expect, or way more than you'd expect. I thought Russ was going to get killed back there. I thought this was going to be one of those Trayvon Boykin years for the Hawks, because I thought Russ was, especially early on in the year, I thought he was going down for sure. And that's a credit to Russ. It's actually a credit to everybody on that line. They played decently, but we need elite. We don't need decent. It's been a blessing in disguise. These next couple of drafts, there'll be offensive line and defensive heavy. I'm sure we'll get a running back in there or two, but we need I think that's something that actually I would go for, is if an elite running back is there, I think that's what we need. Thomas Rawls, health issues and ineffectivity, just the idea of Rawls is a great idea, but we don't need great ideas. We need production, and that's what pays the bills in the NFL. It's not, on paper it looks like Thomas Rawls could run this team over. We need Thomas Rawls to run this team over. You know what I mean? So, offensive line and another running back. I think, to be honest, I would really like a speed back. I don't think that's something that we've had. Size did a great job in his one game, but it's only one game. Although it was against the Patriots in not Pittsburgh, in Foxborough. It's something that we succeeded at, and it's something that Russ, some of his collegiate career, leaned towards that speed back, and I'm not sure why we have more of the power back. Very many Le'Veon Bells out there. You're not going to, strike gold every single time with a running back, but offensive line, running back, and it would be nice to get like a nice tall receiver in there so we can put Lockett in the slot there. And that's, kind of conversely to what you were talking about, Lane being in the slot. If we were able to put Tyler Lockett, eventually we're going to have to pay him. I'd give him number 2 wide receiver money for him to play in the slot, and we would dominate offensively. I can't imagine any team being able to shut down a true 1B along with Doug, along with Lockett in the slot, and then Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham being a bonus, that would be absolutely crazy to see what this offense could do. So I think obviously we have to start at the line. We have to protect our investment in Russell Wilson. Franchise quarterback is just something that it comes with the territory. Like I said, it's not going to be a sexy draft, sexy offseason for the Seahawks for maybe this year, maybe the next couple of years, but in the long run for the offensive line that we have to protect our quarterback. And defensively, I think we need we got to go for an outside linebacker. I don't think we want defense is one of those things where you don't want to mess with too. It's perfect physical. He's getting better. He's not really a liability. I thought he'd be much more of a liability than he has been. He's not elite like Browner and Maxwell were, but he's not hurting us. And I don't like to. I like continuity. I like guys to just have that trust in each other. Something that we struggled with early on in the year. If you remember back, Sherman wasn't having the greatest start to the season when Cam was out. And I like those guys playing together, knowing how to play with each other. But I don't think that having another outside linebacker would hurt us. You remember back, and we played with KJ and Bobby, just 2 linebackers, a lot of games because we didn't have that third linebacker that was better than playing a fifth DB. So somebody that can come in there and play the play the rush as well as be out in coverage is going to be key. Jamie Collins would be a nice addition, but I don't think that we can afford him, especially if he was asking for Von Miller. It's not paying anybody that's available more money than KJ or Bobby, as I think Bobby's the best linebacker in the league anyway. And I think that's something that we really want to mess with the continuity of the guys as a whole. So I think, maybe I did like when we had multiple defensive ends. Not that I want to replace Averill or Bennett, but to have fresh guys always rushing the quarterback all game long was something that we thrived off of. When we had Clem and Averill and Bennett, we dominated. And to have that back, to have the continuity and just fresh legs all day going after the quarterback was something that put us head and shoulders above the rest. So to go back towards that would be clutch, I think.
So we got a few days till the playoffs begin. I don't know if the schedule has been released. I do not believe at this point it has been released what time and day we are playing, but it's either Saturday or Sunday. And there's going to be someone who's going to need to make some big plays. Of course, Russ. Kind of want to leave Russ out of this, but who are maybe one or two guys who you think are just going to light it up throughout the playoffs? In the Super Bowl run, it was Malcolm Smith. And throughout the playoffs,
to be honest,
so go ahead. Who do you think?
Smitty really held it down for us. Although I don't really want to. It wasn't really Smitty that held it down. He was just one of those guys that was right place, right time in the playoff run. As Sherman got the tip, but Smitty was there to catch the ball, and kind of saying for his touchdown. And so. Don't want to take anything away from Smitty. He's doing pretty decent out there in Oakland, but I think Chris Matthews, like you said, was very good. Was amazing in that Packers game. If he doesn't get that onside kick, then we lose that game. And he was also doing great against the Patriots until Browner really shut him down. But I think this year, we've been talking about it for quite some time. I think McAvoy is going to have a game. I think Pete is the type of guy who warms players up. You'll get 2 catches for 10 yards here and there, but it's more of a confidence thing for Pete. I think Pete is deeper than the yardage. And to get McAvoy's confidence up to be that go-to guy. We kind of saw it at the end of this 49ers game with McAvoy as well. I believe it was him and Boykin. He picked out his guy and he says, whether it be in practice or whatever it was, that they had that connection where every single time that was his go-to guy. And I think that now that the season is where it's at, McAvoy he's had a couple big plays with Russ. He's had a couple nice catches in games, nice clutch third downs, things like that. He's been in all types of situations to succeed, and he has. And so to finish off the season and be the go-to guy, although it wasn't Russ throwing him the ball, if you're a great receiver, it doesn't matter who's throwing you the ball. You're going to come down with it. And I think McAvoy is at that point where his confidence is so high that he can be that go-to guy. If Doug is getting shut down, if Jermaine is getting triple teamed, McAvoy can get that one-on-one and get open and be the guy that goes for 100 that nobody expects. And where did this guy come from? But to Seahawks fans and people that have been watching McAvoy, it's right up his alley. He's not a scrub. He's not somebody that you're gonna be able to one-on-one all game long. He's gonna get open, and I'm sure as always, Pete always has something up his sleeve. So I'm sure there's some plays that we haven't seen, some nice trick plays that are gonna get us some yards, and I'm sure, although I'm not a huge Chris fan. And it's going to be either deep to where Earl would be or on Shed's side. They're not teams are not going to test Richard Sherman come playoff time. That'd just be the dumbest thing they ever did. I'm sure they won't completely stay away from his side, but they're not going to – if it's a chance, if it's, it's all a percentage game, and if it's down to 16% chance this play is going to work, they're not going to Sherman's side. So it's going to depend on Shed, and so I'm going Shed and McAvoy for the no names that are going to ball out come playoff time. Who do you got?
I think that I like. I know he's not no name, but he's not a name known yet to the nation. I think you'll get a nice introduction in these playoffs, and that's going to be Mr. Clark, Frank Clark. I think these are the type of games when big players like him, show up to the main stage and say, "I'm here," and you're going to know who I am. I think he'll make a lot of key sacks. I could even see him causing a couple of fumbles. I just see him being a disruptor all game long. He's showing what he can do throughout the year, and I've liked it. I really liked what I've seen. It's just he's a hustler. He's athletic. He's strong. He's fast. And when you do those things all year, you build those reps. So that's how you play every single down. You may struggle, and they may double team you, or you may not have the best skill in order to how to make it happen. But I think if you just continue just to be relentless throughout the season and just finding ways, eventually that pays off come playoff time. And I think that this is now Frank Clark's time to really show the world what he's all about and really get some pressure on the quarterback. Because I think that's the one thing that we're even missing a little bit of. Even if we have a great defensive line, I'd just like us to get more pressure, just be disruptive. And so I think on the defensive end, that'll be him. And I think somebody in our running backs room is going to show up. I don't know if it's this new guy that we just signed off the street. It could be Thomas Rawls. But I see like CJ Procise. I mean, I don't see our running game dominating any of these games. But I definitely do see us having a few big plays from our running backs and game deciding plays from those running backs where they, take off for 40 or 50 or whatever it may be in a key situation. So I'll probably go with CJ because he's known for that. But it could be Thomas Rawls. It could be whoever they're working out. Maybe Reggie Bush will come to play for us. Who knows? But somebody's gonna find a way in the running game to get us a few big plays. And so I think those will be our two big differences come playoff time.
Man, I'll have to agree. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Is there anything we missed out on so far?
No, I think that's it. Like everything I covered that I wanted to talk about. Anything that's been on your mind? UW's women basketball. I know that the Cougs beat the Huskies, but both teams look like they're terrible at basketball. So I don't know if that matters at all. It seems like Markelle Fultz is the only one who knows how to play the game. So I guess that's what we learned. Fultz is the only basketball player in the state of Washington who plays at the collegiate level.
I mean, that's about it. I don't want to disrespect the Huskies women's basketball team. It's a very good team. But I don't think that outside of Pac-12 play, which just started, I don't think that anything's really gone on worth mentioning. I was talking about this the other day. The first month of the season pretty much I don't really watch. There's some big games, they always go to the naval ship and it's like Michigan State versus Arizona and sometimes you'll get like a Duke Kentucky game, but the majority of the games it's like Iona versus Villanova. It's like a 100-point game at halftime. I mean, I don't want to waste my time with that. I don't know why you guys are wasting your time with that, but now that the season is underway, I'll be watching more. I'll be honest, I haven't been watching any Pac-12 men's basketball, including University of Arizona. Not until they tell me why my guy, Alonzo Trier, is not playing. I'm not watching Arizona basketball. No disrespect to Kobe Simmons and Raul Alkins and all those other superstar guys that are at Arizona. Much love to you guys, but I can't support a team that just tells me that this guy is not going to play and then not tell me why he can't play. So I'm not all for that, but much respect to them, and hope they continue to have a great season. And once Alonzo starts playing and Arizona comes back to being one of the best teams in college basketball, as they usually are, then I'll start watching. But no, in all seriousness, I actually plan. There's a couple of games on tomorrow that I'll be watching, definitely more intently now that conference play started. It's kind of like the playoffs. Once you start playing teams in your conference, teams that you see every year, twice a year, it's much better basketball. So now I'll be watching, and I'll be ready for March Madness when it comes around. But I'm not going to lie and say that I've been watching a whole lot of college basketball. Checked out that UCLA-Kentucky game, and Kentucky's looking good. UCLA's looking good, although they dropped one the other night. And it's going to be an exciting year. Husky women's basketball, I'll be watching that as well. Don't let it fool you. I went to a majority, if not all of their games last year in Seattle. I went to the Pac-12 women's tournament. Great tournament. A lot of good teams. Oregon State's a good team. Arizona, not a good team, but what's her name? Griffey's daughter plays for the squad, so definitely check her out. I think she's a sophomore this year. And that's about it, yeah. So definitely don't sleep on women's basketball. I mean, to be 110% honest, it's obviously not as exciting as men's basketball, but it is exciting basketball. Don't let it fool you. Close games are close games no matter what level they are at. And, there's not going to be a whole lot of high-flying dunks and alley-oops and whatnot, but I will say that women are 10 times better shooters than men are. So it's all what type of game you like, but women's basketball at University of Washington is good basketball, and you won't be disappointed if you go check out a game. So definitely recommend it. I'll let you know when some good matchups come up, and yeah, we'll be watching.
What college should we be watching?
I mean, the thing about women's basketball is the only reason that a lot of people don't like it is UConn is just unstoppable. They're kind of like UCLA, the men's basketball team was in the 70s when all the superstars played there. It's kind of where UConn women's basketball is right now. Every single year, Gino has that team, number one in the nation. They win out, and it's kind of unfair. It's like watching Alabama. There's not really – even the number 2 team in the nation has no chance against them. So it's that's the one knock on women's basketball. It's just yeah, there's other teams that play, but UConn is going to win it all. UConn is going to have the number 1 player in the draft. UConn. So that's I think that hurts women's basketball, but it's exciting basketball. UConn, it is exciting to see them and how great they are. We have Breanna Stewart in the Storm now, so we can watch and see the product that UConn releases every single year live in Seattle. Definitely check them out if you haven't gone. I'm sure Jewel Lloyd, we got a bunch of talented ladies there in Seattle that I'm sure not a whole lot of people are going to see, and it's unfortunate, but definitely a lot of talent in the Pac-12. Always have Stanford. Stanford always has very good women's basketball players, and just something to see. If you got some time on Friday nights or Wednesday nights, so you won't be disappointed.
What about on the men's side? Who are some teams that
it's disrespectful to go see,
right? So people know about Kentucky and some of the other better teams, but who are some teams maybe that people aren't looking out for that they should maybe take a second and like, oh, they're on, I'll check them out?
Some teams, obviously, although they're number 1, to be honest with you, Villanova is a team to check out. It's I feel like they're one of those teams where it's just like, should I watch Villanova? No. But they're a good team. St. Mary's is a good team. That's a team that, not a whole lot of people would watch or, be like, oh, I got to hurry home to check out and see what's happening in the St. Mary's game. So they're another team that I think they're a top 20 team right now. Very good. They'll be a problem come March Madness. Michigan State is a team that has fallen out of good graces, but Miles Bridges, I would take him in the draft in a heartbeat. He will be on your favorite team in no time, and you'll be loving it. So definitely check out Miles Bridges, an amazing talent. Duke, obviously, they have all your favorite players. Jason Tatum and Marcus Giles or Harry Giles, not Marcus Giles. Harry Giles, Kansas, Josh Jackson, I think the #1 player in the nation, outside of Alonzo Trier, of course. But Josh Jackson, he got the fro going. He's a monster, very intelligent. He's not a monster. He's an intelligent young man. And who else is out there? Kansas, Kentucky. The usuals: UCLA, Kansas, Kentucky, Arizona, Michigan State. Although they're not ranked, obviously Tom Izzo, one of the best coaches in the game of all time, and Miles Bridges, St. Mary's, Villanova. Yeah, I mean, it's not much disparity in college basketball as well. Generally, you're going to know who's going to be at the top of the game. And, yeah, definitely that would be – for those that aren't watching it, that want an unranked team to follow. I'm not sure if Michigan State is ranked again, but they had a little slide there. And Miles Bridges, if you haven't checked out Michigan State, definitely check him out. He's going to be good in the league.
So if you got a long day and you really want to get home and watch some sports, you're saying get in your car, rush home, watch that St. Mary's game. They're a fun team to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely it's St. Mary's, but I mean, they're Kentucky. So if you're in a long day and Kentucky's on, definitely get to a TV as soon as possible. I'm not gonna condone streaming live from your vehicle, because I don't want any crashes happening because of what Calipari is putting on the court. But they're amazing. So simply put, I don't know how Calipari does it every single year. His team, I feel like it gets more and more amazing year by year. But this team is wild. De'Aaron Fox, lefty, he can do it all. Bam Adebayo, he's like Joel Embiid. It's crazy the talent that Kentucky has this year. And to say that Duke is right there, North Carolina is right there with them, it's going to be a great year of basketball. So I'm excited. But like I said, I haven't watched a whole lot this first month. But to be honest with you, a lot of these players haven't been playing either. They've been taking a break too. So, if you're going to get on me, you better get on Harry Giles and Josh Jackson and all those guys that have been taking a break too.
All right, we'll finish up the show right there. My name is Austin Lersten. This over here is Mr.
Corey Sullivan.
And this has been the C3PO show. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace. Until we back.